Welcome to week 12. I'm going to go over two things. First, how to integrate sources into your paper when you're working on Essay 3 and in your portfolio. And second, I'm going to go over a couple of things in the apostrophe quiz, which I'm allowing you to retake a second time this week. So when you go to areas of revision, which we did a couple weeks ago, the second section is really important. It also will help lengthen your paper if you didn't make the minimum. So when you're looking at each of the sources for your paper, whether it's for your argument or your counter argument, the first thing you're going to be doing in the essay is introducing the part of your thesis that this source is speaking to. So if it's a study about the effects of excessive, technology use in infants, then you want to introduce why the source is important to you, how it's supporting you. So that's the first sentence. The second sentence should actually introduce your source. So all you need is title of the source, journal article, and the author. You don't need to tell us the credentials. You don't need to tell us anything more than those two things. But you want to introduce the source itself. So set up the passage. How are you using it? And the third is you give the direct quotation from the source. If you're paraphrasing it, you're going to cite it in exactly the same way. But you want to actually give the example third for the text. And then finally, you want to respond to it, not leaving that quotation or example just ending the paragraph, but with your voice so that you dominate in this paragraph. This is the minimum you need to do for each of the sources. And one reason why you don't want to have multiple sources in one paragraph is it gets confusing who's talking. So here's the first draft of a student essay. The first thing that this writer can do is explain who wrote this source, right, rather than just what it is. And the student begins to give some reason for why it's in the report. This is for essay 1 about general education. Keep in mind you need to eliminate commas within the parenthetical citation, and you also need to move periods to the end. They should go here, not inside of the quotation marks. So doing that for each of the sources would mean moving this second source to another paragraph. What this writer doesn't do here but will do in the revision for the e-portfolio is introduce what the source is, because you can see that there's no indication here who's talking. It's just a parenthetical citation. So you need to show that you've changed from the Gump source to the she source. Even though there's no indication in the paragraph that you have. So for the revision, just go ahead and make sure that you have one source per paragraph to avoid confusion, but it also lengthens your essay. And you can be doing that for all the essays, certainly for essay number 3, but in your revisions, you'll have the chance to do that in each of your essays. The quiz this week requires that you read both handouts on Brightspace under week 11 before you retake it or take it. The question that I think is having the most trouble is question 2. Simon, Johnny, and Peter were playing ball. Lisa came and kicked the blank's ball away. Is the ball belonging to one of the boys or all of the boys? The apostrophe should indicate plural, boys plural rather than singular, since it doesn't say it was just one of theirs. The other question that seems to have caused some confusion, but there is an example in the handout. Jane and Timmy are working on 2 separate research projects. So if each of them has a research project, it's not a plural answer. In this one, if we don't put an apostrophe after Jane, it indicates that they're only working on their own research projects. So you want to make sure that each of them gets their own apostrophe for their individual research projects. And the last one is just asking you to see the correct use of one. So I would go back to the handout and be looking for an example of how to correctly use an apostrophe in ones. And all of those are examples of possessive rather than contractions. If you have any questions before you take the quiz or you want to talk to me about your ePortfolio, just send me an email this week and we'll see you online. Thanks.